Alrighty, so before we get into the video, I want to thank Idols Montreal and Square Enix for allowing me to play an early preview of Guardians of the Galaxy. I really appreciate it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the video. Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's Lejeune here, and I'm back at another video. Now, guys, in today's video, we'll be going over my early preview I was able to have with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I was able to play it for about a good 2 or 3 hours. So I'm going to basically give my overview and coverage of what I was able to play. So before we get into the video, if you guys go to enjoy it, you guys like the video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell as well, so there's a video and those be notified when I upload a video. And most importantly, make sure you guys hit that like button. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Homie, they ain't ready for this. Scatter shot, I'm working, hurt them worse than slitting your wrist. Hit subscribe, smash like, ring the bell, stay tuned. Now without further ado, here's the duel of June. Yeah.
Alright, so from this section, I was able to play with my early preview. I was able to play Chapter 5, and now Chapter 5 is where you have to go pay a fee to the Nova Corps, and this is where also you get your first encounter of the Universal Church of Truth. Now, I have to say, Idols Montreal, they really did capture the feel for the Guardians. Even when it comes to their attitude, their interactions with each other, it is very nice, and I do have examples of that. So for Rocket, for example, in the beginning of the mission, while you're in the ship, the llama, as you guys seen in the early trailers for the game, he chewed up some wires that was very important to Rocket, and Rocket was very upset about that. And even out through the mission, once you're in the Nova Corps station, he's upset about the ship getting taken away and all that. And overall, his attitude was just very just upsetting, and he was just very mad all the time. So they had a situation where you had to unlock a door, and you had to command Rocket to unlock it. And Rocket did not want to unlock the door at all. Like, as many times you try to command him, he would not do it. So you had to talk to the other Guardians just to even convince Rocket just to unlock the door, which was pretty nice. I like that little thing they added right there. It goes to show on how, you know, Rocket really is as a character. He's very hot-headed and he takes things to heart. So that was pretty nice right there. And also there's another one with Gamora where she's on the ship and she's looking up dolls. So, you know, Gamora has a little collection of dolls that she like to do, and Peter snuck up on her and she got scared. And there's a whole conversation you could do with that where Gamora just talks about how she likes her hobbies, and, you know, collecting dolls is her hobby, and it's pretty funny. And when you're flying to the Nova Corps station, Gamora stated that you're not going to sneak up on her anymore, which is pretty funny, and I like that overall. So of course, throughout this mission, of course, we know that this game will be having decision making. Now, I'm going to be going into detail about that, and also they did stated previously that decision making can have different outcomes, but the end goal of the mission will still be the same, which is very true. So for instance, they had the one part in the mission where there's a Nova Corps helmet that is sitting on the ground that you can either talk to or not, and the Universal Church of Truth is talking through it. So there's one option where you can actually talk to the people in the helmet with Peter not knowing that they have been infiltrated the Nova Corps, and with speaking to them brings the enemies to you. Basically, you'll see a pop-up on the top right once you talk to the enemies that the Guardians does not agree with your decision for talking into the helmet. And once they know your location, they come to you, and, you know, they're trying to basically, you know, just capture you, and you have to fight them. And with them knowing you're there now, you have to go through an elevator, and they already know you're there, so they're shooting at you, so you got to go straight into action and just battle them. So there's a second option where for you not to talk into the helmet, and you go into the elevator and you sneak up on them and you do like a surprise attack. So there's different outcomes. There's not different outcomes. There's different ways to get to the outcome, and the outcome will always be the same. So that is on how the decision making works so far, you know, from what I was able to play as. So it may be different when it comes to the full game, when it comes to talking to like bigger enemies or bigger allies, depending on that situation. So we got to see more on that one. So the next thing we got to talk about, we actually have some Easter eggs in this one, and also with the MCU references as well. So let's get into that. So when it comes to Easter egg in a certain section, there are two. There's one for a mysterious character that is a part of the Guardians at one point in the comics, and there's another one referencing the MCU. So of course, for the first one, we're going to talk about the mysterious character, which is Jack Flag. Now, Jack Flag was a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy at one point, and he also did work with Captain America. Now, throughout the mission, when I was walking through for my first playthrough, there was someone crying out for help, and I ignored it. I didn't even know where it was coming from. And for my second playthrough, I heard it again, and I went to investigate, and it was actually Jack Flag right there in his costume and everything. He looked pretty dope. and he was basically telling the Guardians what was happening in the Nova Corps station, and Peter tried to free him. And with him trying to free him, he mistakenly just like made him go through the process of the Nova Corps, protocol when it comes to capturing people. And there's another door that you have to go through, and you see him again. And this is when it comes to the reference for the MCU, that basically where he had to get his picture taken. As you guys remember in the first movie, when all the Guardians had to get their picture taken, isn't legit in that like same vicinity or same room, I guess you could say. And that's the reference to the MCU right there. And with Peter trying to free him again, he proceeded to go through his his protocol with the Nova Corps, how they do they capturing enemies or just targets in general. And throughout the mission, when it comes to the final part, before you evacuate, you look out through a window and you see Jack Flag just flying, not flying off. He's still in his prison cell, and he just floated into oblivion in space. And Gamora stated that, isn't that someone we just ran across? And Peter just tried to shrug it off like it was nothing, knowing that he just did something very bad. So it was very funny, and I like the fact that they threw that Easter egg in there for me to catch. But I noticed it immediately, Jack Flag and with the Guardians Easter egg. So that was pretty dope right there. So for the next thing we're gonna get onto, which I know a lot of people probably are wondering about, we're gonna get onto the combat and just basically talk about how I felt about it and everything. So let's get into it. Alrighty, now, so for the combat, we've already known that you're gonna be able to play as Star-Lord and you'll be controlling the Guardians. Now, when I first heard about this, when the game was announced, it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, it didn't make sense, just to only play as Star-Lord. It'd been cool as to play as the other Guardians, but I still stand on that. But from what they're trying to do right here and what they're trying to go for, I can see why they chose this. Now, controlling the Guardians and commanding them actually does feel nice from the build I was able to play as, and especially their abilities as well. They are very nice. Now, I do remember some of their abilities. They are very good for setup. So for Rocket, he has two that I remember. The first one is just a regular grenade from his gun that does some high damage and AoE damage as well. His second one is like a grenade that actually sucks in enemies and have them in the air stun locked. So it's very good for setup, and just for strategic wise, you can actually plan more since the enemies are stun locked in the sky. And for Groot has some really good stun locking abilities as well. He has one where he can actually put his hands through the ground and cripple enemies, have them stun locked in one area. Now, if there are enemies around, he can actually grab those enemies as well with the stun lock, which is very nice for setup. His second ability is another one where he puts his arms to the ground and actually just sends spikes up and launches the enemies in the sky. That's good for setup as well. It does some good damage as well. We have Drax. Now, Drax is more of like a stagger heavy type character. His first ability is where he actually charges to the enemy, and he grabs them and spins them in a circle and throws it to other enemies, and they get affected by some type of effect he does. I can't remember what it was, but they all get affected. I think they take more damage once he gets that move off. And the second one is where he does like a buffalo charge, and he charges to enemies and he launches them in the sky. And for Gamora is pretty nice. Her first ability is where she actually strikes an enemy with a sword, and she jumps, she throws the sword, it goes above them, throw the sword, then actually lands on them, stands on the sword and lands on them, which is pretty nice for animation. And for the second one's like a ninja consecutive strikes, where if there are 3 enemies around, she can strike 3 of those enemies, slice one, go to the other one, slice, and go to the other one, slice. It's pretty nice. And if you target one enemy with the ninja slice, I guess you could say, with it's gonna call it the ninja slice. If you target one enemy, she will slice them 3 times with that ability. And for Star-Lord, he has the first ability is where he can actually go, just fly and shoot his weapons. The second one is where he does like a rapid fire with his weapons. It does some really good damage, and just rapidly firing your weapon, so that's more damage. It increases your fire rate as well, so it's pretty nice. Now for the last one, I can't remember correctly, but I know he goes in the sky and throws something on the ground. I think it's like something with ice or something. I can't really remember, but I know he does something like that. And he also has an ability that you can actually get from the crafting table with Rocket, which has ice bullets, or you get just ice weapon. Now this ice weapon does freeze enemies, and if you have the stun meter on high enough on the enemy, you can actually do a takedown on them once they're encased in ice, and instantly just kill them, since they are encased in ice, and you hit them and they break instantly. So it's pretty nice. And speaking about that, you can actually craft things with Rocket. So you could craft defensive, offensive, and new abilities. As I've spoken with the ice elemental bullets you can do with Star-Lord, you can actually craft that. There's some ability, some things you can actually get where it increases your defense and offense as well. To obtain these materials that you do need, you can just go out through the missions and just go through random locations and just find materials that you can use to upgrade your character. And it's very, very nice. It's interesting on how they're doing it, because there's also another ability for Star-Lord where you can actually double tap on the firing button, and you could hold it and it charges. It does like a charge shot that does some good damage and stun damage as well. So the crafting table is going to be very important when it comes to beating harder enemies that come along with the mission, and just overall for the game in general. So that's pretty nice as well. But speaking about that, Star-Lord, his melee is a bit janky. From when I was able to play, it didn't feel right at all to me. I don't know, it just didn't feel right. It just didn't flow right to me. It just could be because of the and they report that it's not the final build.
So what?
But
Now
I don't
I'm
know.
supposed to hack Nova Corps
his melee
security?
just didn't feel right to me at all.
If you don't think you
hopefully,
can,
of course they
Keep
can do.
shot, Quill.
When the game comes out, since it is gold, they can do something with his melee, because it just doesn't feel right to me at all. Of course, you can do team takedowns as well, and there also is the ultimate mechanic, which is called Huddle. Now, Huddle is a very, very interesting mechanic. So it is very situational. So with the Huddle, say for instance you're surrounded by enemies, you're losing a fight, say for Guardians going down, you pick them up, you revive them, and you activate Huddle. They will basically talk about how they're very discouraged, they not feel like they're winning the fight, and there's actually options you can choose to either boost up your just pep talk them, really get them hyped up, or you can try to humble them, I guess you could say. And it also has different effects depending on what you do. So if you do a successful huddle, which your teammates actually get them riled up, you can overall increase their healing and their damage, their cooldowns. It's very interesting, and I like that mechanic when it comes to the huddle. It's very interesting. Of course, it's very situational, and it depends on what you pick, on what you can actually give the boost to your teammates. So that's pretty nice. Now, I think that is very it when it comes to overall what I played. It was, in my opinion, it has really changed for this game, because once it was officially announced and once we saw the little gameplay that they showed back then, I was pretty skeptical about the game. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I just wasn't really feeling it, and for me actually being able to play it for about a good 2 or 3 hours, my opinion has changed. I'm somewhat excited, can't wait to play the game and just see on what they can really do, and just what abilities and everything you can really go crazy with in this game, and also for the story as well. I just want to see where they actually go with this story that they're trying to tell for the Guardians. So yeah, I have to say, if you're doing first impressions, I would give it, just for this section, of course I only played chapter 5, so I haven't played the whole entire game. From what I was able to play, I would give it about a good 8, if I'm being honest. Now, of course, there's still things that do have to work on that I feel like that should, probably be fixed or probably handled by then once we get to the official release. But I liked what I played. My opinion has changed for Guardians. And yeah, that is what I was able to experience. Now, that is everything. Let me know in the comments if this has changed your experience or anything like that. Let me know in the comments below. But yeah, that is in today's video. If you guys are not, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on post notifications so never miss a video. Don't always be notified when I upload a video. And most importantly, make sure you guys hit that like button. Now, of course, I do have a Discord. We go over everything to the Mars Avengers. Got the nice Outriders, Midnight Suns, Guardians. So if you guys want to join that, the link is below for that one as well. Also, I do stream on Twitch. If you guys want to come out to the Twitch streams, the streams do be litty. The link is below for that one as well. Also, I do have memberships on the channel. If you guys want to join that, the link is below. I want to give a quick shout out to the elite members and the rookie members. I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, without further ado, I am gone, and I will see you guys later. Peace.